My message to the political prisoners in Iran is this: we are with you. We see your suffering. You are not alone. I found out about the Iranian opposition through working with different human rights activists in Syria. My art is always focused on human rights and about human rights violations. And I really believe that no matter where human rights violations, or anytime people are oppressed, or there's children being abused, or there's anyone that is suffering under a totalitarian regime, that I believe that that place, just like the great humanitarian Elie Wiesel said, that wherever that is in the world, that should become the center of the world. So no matter where we are, no matter what country you live in, there's no boundaries to suffering. So when I was learning about the horrendous atrocities in the Syrian conflict and the heroic efforts of peacemakers and humanitarians to try to rescue the civilians, I got to know some of the activists that were also working with the Iranian opposition. I started to do more research. I started to look into the 1988 horrendous massacre that occurred and all the cover-up and injustice that happened after that. And it really felt like to not respond to a situation this horrendous would be a crime. And I really do think that if you know about something and if you see something happening in the world and you don't do anything, then it's almost just as bad as the person committing the crime. So one of the things I do with my students is we've always talked about civil rights and the importance of treating everyone with love and respect. And in our country, in America, we have a lot of problems with that. And we, to teach them about this, we read a lot of graphic novels. For example, this one is about the civil rights movement in America with Martin Luther King. And it's really not that hard to take something like this and extend it just to another country. So when my students learn about suffering in our country, I want them to know just because something is happening somewhere else doesn't mean it's not our problem. Because anytime someone is suffering, anytime people are being oppressed, there's no excuse not to say something. I decided to start drawing the political prisoners of Iran because when I read their stories, when I saw their suffering, again, I realized that they were humans. I'm a human. I don't care where someone lives. If they're suffering, if they're trying to fight for justice and human rights, then I will be on their side, no matter what country they live in. So really, sometimes when I read about a story that's so sad, like some of the victims that are suffering in the prisons in Iran, it's hard for me to even sleep at night without somehow drawing or painting. That's the way I express myself. I've done that since I was a little boy. I'll do that for the rest of my life. That is the way that I feel like I can process something so terrible. So that is what motivated me to start drawing the political prisoners in Iran, because I saw them as having very similar values to me. Values of freedom of expression, values of no matter who you are, if you're a man, if you're a woman, that you deserve the chance to live a wonderful, happy life. And also freedom of expression. That is a huge, obviously as an artist, that's one of the main values that I want to defend, is freedom of expression. So if there is a wrong, if there's something that is unjust, people should have the right to talk about it, to protest about it, to express themselves about it. And so the political prisoners in Iran were protesting some of the horrendous human crimes that were happening in Iran. And because of this, they were thrown in prison and were seen as a threat to the country. And are now suffering. And so that is what motivated me to start drawing these people, to let them know that, yes, there are other people in the world that are with you. We are on your side. We want you to know that we wish you nothing but love. We encourage you. and we want to speak for you while you maybe don't have a voice. So we're going to use any way we can. We're going to use the internet. We're going to use social media. We're going to use our skills, whatever skills they may be, to help tell your story to the world. One of the first political prisoners I drew from Iran was Haish, and when I read his story and about his wife being unjustly imprisoned and about his reaction and his heroism in starving himself and risking his own life for the love of his wife, I couldn't help but be inspired by that story. And I wanted whoever knew Haish and Haish himself and his wife to know, once again, that there are people that are thinking about you no matter where they are. I'm oceans away, but it doesn't matter. You're human. You love your wife the way I love my wife, and you would do anything that you can to speak for her, to try to help her, to try to save her, even if that means risking your own life. If that's not the definition of a hero, if that's not the definition of courage, I don't know what is. So that's one of the first political prisoners that I drew, was Haish. And then the more I learned about his situation, the more I started to learn about other prisoners, people who were standing up for the rights for a child to have an education, the people who were protesting against the abuse of women in their country. These are people that I am on their side. I don't care where they're from, I'm on their side. And so I am going to try to let them know through art that I am trying to encourage them in their efforts and that I am with them. And also it is important for me as an educator to not just focus on issues in our own country, like we're an isolated island in the middle of nowhere, but to let my children know that they also have a voice. They can also express themselves. They can also let people know in this day and age with technology and social media, they can bring their voices way outside this classroom and bring it to the world. And when they see that their ability to do this, all it does is inspire them to take a more active role in standing up for peace and for love and for justice. And if we need more in this world, that's what we need, I believe, is we need more people who are compassionate towards others, more people who are kind to others, because we are already, any country you go to, any place in the world, there is suffering, and the more people we have that are confronting that suffering, the better. My message to the political prisoners in Iran is this: we are with you. We see your suffering. You are not alone. We will continue to speak for you. We will continue to speak for human rights, for justice in every country. We will tell your story, and we will make sure your voice is heard in the best of our ability. So we are with you, and we admire your courage and your example. Stay safe and know that you are not alone. The people of every country deserve the freedom of expression, the freedom to express themselves, to live with freedom and liberty. The great people of Iran deserve this as well. And so I am calling on all of us artists, writers, musicians, people with a voice, people free to express themselves. Please join together and support Iran's right to a free press and freedom from persecution, freedom from human rights violations, and freedom from fear. We all need to do this. There's no time to wait. So please, join together in supporting a free Iran.